Have you ever played a game that made you completely lose track of time? Like, you sit down thinking, okay, I'm just gonna play for a couple of hours and then I'm going to sleep. And then all of a sudden the sun is shining through your window and it's literally too late to sleep because you have work or class in a few hours. I literally lost, in a good way, hours and hours of my life to discover these 18 games that will consume your life. 1. The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. Alright, let's start with the OG time thief, the legend that's somehow still eating up our lives over a decade later, Skyrim. Seriously, if you haven't dropped at least 200 hours into this game, you're missing out. This is fantasy sandbox done right. The reason it grabs you isn't the main quest, let's be real, that's just basic Dragonborn stuff. It's the unrivaled sense of discovery. You see a mountain, you can climb it, period. You're heading to Whiterun and bam, a random cave icon pops up on your HUD. You think, just a quick peek. 3 hours later, you've cleared a crypt, fought a Drugger overlord, and found some crazy good frost damage enchant, totally forgetting about the Jarl. The game's engine allows for incredible emergent narrative. The lore is deep, the environmental storytelling is top tier, and the constant progression loop, be it sneak, smithing, or destruction magic, is pure dopamine. Skyrim doesn't just let you choose a class, it lets you live a second life. It's a digital black hole, and that's why it's the certified life stealer. 2. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is one of those games where you turn the console on just to explore a little, and suddenly you're climbing a random hill because something shiny caught your eye, and then you're gliding off that hill, and then you're cooking something weird you found, and now it's 3 a.m. This game doesn't beg for your attention, it just slowly wraps its hands around your curiosity and doesn't let go. What still blows my mind is how natural everything feels. Climbing anything, using the physics engine to solve puzzles your own way, getting your butt kicked by a random bokoblin because you got too confident, it's all part of that chaotic charm. And the world is huge, but it never feels empty. Every little corner has something interesting or beautiful or just plain strange. I've easily spent more time wandering around doing absolutely nothing important than actually progressing the story. And honestly, I don't regret a second of it. The game rewards curiosity like no other. BOTW is one of those games that steals your life by making you feel like a kid again, exploring, experimenting, and getting distracted every 5 seconds. 3. Cyberpunk 2077. From ancient fantasy and physics playgrounds, let's jump straight into the gritty future with Cyberpunk 2077. Now look, I know the launch was rough. It was a complete tire fire on last-gen consoles, but V's story in Night City, once they fixed the core experience, became a pure digital black hole. The setting itself is the main character. Night City is perhaps the most fully realized, visually stunning, and vibrant dystopian city ever. It absolutely nails that neon-drenched, corporatized grit aesthetic. What kept me glued was the sheer depth of the RPG mechanics and the branching plots. This is a game where your choices and your character build actually impact the outcome. I played my first run as a netrunner, hacking everything, using quick hacks to literally cook enemies from the inside. The feeling of power you get from chaining overheat and short circuit is addictive. The side content is insane. The gigs and NCPD scanner hustles are tiny, brilliant stories that flesh out the world. I spent hours just driving my Kusanagi bike through the rain-soaked streets, listening to the radio. The world is so visually and sonically rich, you get so immersed you forget you have a real life. It's an atmospheric masterpiece. 4. Super Mario Odyssey. Let's do a hard left from the grit and talk about the game that proves you don't need realism to steal your soul. Super Mario Odyssey. This game is pure, unadulterated Nintendo magic. It's a masterclass in level design and platforming mechanics. The big hook, obviously, is Cappy, the ability to capture and control almost any enemy or object. That one mechanic breaks the entire game wide open and gives you an endless stream of aha moments. The time sink here isn't map size, it's density and collectability. There are literally hundreds of power moons in every kingdom, and finding them is never a chore. It's pure, joyful exploration. You think you've cleared a stage, you check the counter, and you're still missing 15. So you go back, and suddenly you see a tiny hidden path that leads to a crazy, challenging sub-area. My time with this? I spent a whole evening just perfecting the jump rope challenge in Metro Kingdom. The high-level platforming is pure skill-based fun. The game constantly rewards you for being curious, for trying crazy stuff with Cappy. It keeps you in a constant state of just one more moon, until suddenly it's 3 a.m. It's a brightly colored, incredibly deep time sink. 5. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Moving on, we need to talk about the best pirate simulator ever made, which just happens to have Assassin's Creed in the title, Black Flag. This game is peak escapism and a total life vacuum. The core time sink here is the naval combat and exploration loop. You step into the shoes of Edward Kenway, and very quickly you get the Jackdaw. That's where your real life ends. You are supposed to be following some convoluted story about assassins and Templars, but who cares? Suddenly, you're chasing a massive Spanish man-o'-war across the Caribbean Sea. The systemic piracy is ridiculously addictive. Spot a ship, engage in a broadside battle, cripple it, board it, and then recruit the crew or repair your ship. The constant drive is to upgrade your hull, cannons, and mortars. I spent entire sessions just sailing, looking for sea shanties to collect, and listening to my crew sing. That sense of maritime freedom completely overshadows the main quests. It's an open-world simulator dressed up as an action game, and that's exactly why it sucks up hundreds of hours of your time. 6. Red Dead Redemption 2. Next up is the game that's less of a game and more of a lifestyle commitment, Red Dead Redemption 2. This is the one that forces you to slow down, and in that slowness, your actual life starts to disappear. Rockstar built a world here that is absolutely unparalleled in its environmental detail and simulation. The realism and immersion are the ultimate traps. Arthur moves slowly, his guns need cleaning, and you actually have to feed your horse. Every action has weight. You start a main mission, but then you see a massive buck, and you think, I need to hunt that for my satchel upgrade. 4 hours later, you're still hunting legendary animals and have completely forgotten about rescuing Dutch. The game is packed with emergent encounters, random strangers to save, hidden mysteries, and those deep, brilliant camp moments. I once wasted 2 whole hours just sitting by a lake, fishing for sockeye salmon. It sounds dull, but the world's fidelity makes it meditative. It's a massive, beautiful cinematic RPG that respects its setting so much that you genuinely feel like you live in the Wild West. Prepare to lose everything to Arthur Morgan's saga. 7. Mad Max. Okay, let's talk about a sleeper hit that devours your time with pure, dirty, brutal, post-apocalyptic fun. Mad Max. A lot of people just forget this game exists, but trust me, if you love that devastated wasteland vibe, this thing is a black hole for your free time. The main mechanic is the magnum opus, your car. The entire game revolves around the progression loop of scavenging scrap to upgrade your machine, from V8 engines and reinforced armor to the absolutely insane Thunderpoon. The feeling of spotting an enemy convoy and knowing your car can tear it apart is nothing short of fantastic. The hand-to-hand combat follows that Arkham-style counter system, but the real show is the vehicular combat. You're constantly crossing the huge, oppressive desert, fighting Scrotus's war parties and clearing out enemy fortresses, the infamous camps. You're constantly hunting for scrap or fuel. It's simple, super dynamic, and incredibly satisfying. That constant sense of progression and the raw impact of car-on-car combat always pull you back in with the classic, just one more convoy. It's a hidden gem that completely hijacks your schedule.
8. Days Gone. Finally for this block, let's talk about a game that was criminally underrated at launch and features the most terrifying time sync mechanic, Days Gone. This game nails the survival horror open world blend perfectly. The world of Oregon is massive and beautiful, but it's constantly hostile. You play as Deacon St. John, a biker, and the core gameplay revolves around two things: managing your resources and avoiding the freaker hordes. The time sink is the bike management loop. Your motorcycle is your lifeline, and you're constantly scavenging fuel, repairing damage, and upgrading parts for better engine cork and nitro boost. This forces you into constant risky excursions. But the real life stealer is the horde mechanic. Finding a massive swarm of freakers, sometimes 500 plus on screen, and devising a tactical engagement plan is the most stressful but rewarding thing in gaming. You spend an hour setting up traps, oil slicks, and explosive barrels just to kite the horde through your kill zone. Once you start hunting hordes, you stop caring about your sleep schedule. It's a fantastic piece of emergent sandbox gameplay.
9. Metro Exodus. Now we dive deep into the Russian post-apocalypse with Metro Exodus. If you thought the tunnels were claustrophobic, just wait until you step onto the surface. Huge, open, and terrifyingly desolate. This game is the ultimate immersion trap. 4A Games built this world with insane technical fidelity, especially with the ray tracing global illumination in the Enhanced Edition. Everything feels real, from the creak of your gas mask to the way light bounces dynamically off every surface. The real time sync here is the blend of linear story segments with large, open survival sandbox zones. You're constantly scavenging materials to craft medical supplies, ammo, and upgrades for your pneumatic weapons. Running out of filters in a radiation zone is pure panic. My personal obsession was weapon customization. The gunsmith system is so robust, you can swap every stock, scope, and magazine. I spent hours clearing out bandit camps just to find a specific sight or laser for my Kalash. It's a gorgeous, brutal, deeply atmospheric FPS that makes you truly earn every single sunrise. Not to mention the story, incredibly deep and beautifully written, and Artyom is an amazing protagonist, even without saying a single word.
10. Immortals Fenyx Rising. Let's lighten the mood a bit with the hilarious, puzzle-filled world of Greek mythology in Immortals Fenyx Rising. This game is often called the Breath of the Wild clone, but honestly, it takes that exploration and systemic puzzle design and runs with it, adding a ton of Ubisoft flavor. The art style is vibrant, the writing is genuinely funny, shout out to Zeus and Prometheus's narration, and the time meter is the sheer density of content. Every time you climb a statue to reveal the map, your screen is flooded with icons, vaults of Tartarus, challenge arenas, liar puzzles, and crazy boss fights. The vaults of Tartarus are the real hook. These are essentially mini-dungeons focused entirely on platforming and physics puzzles, and they are incredibly clever. You step into one thinking it'll take 5 minutes, and suddenly you're moving giant cubes with your Hercules' strength for 45 minutes just to get a new piece of gear. I tried to 100% just the first island and spent 60 hours there. The satisfying combat system, based on godly powers and juggling enemies, just makes clearing that map even more addictive. It's a pure, unashamed collectathon, and it completely works.
11. Horizon Zero Dawn. Alright, back to serious business with a game that features one of the most unique settings in modern gaming, Horizon Zero Dawn. Post-apocalypse, but instead of zombies, we have giant, gorgeous, terrifying machine dinosaurs. The core of the time sink is the combat loop and resource management. Aloy is a hunter, and every encounter with a Thunderjaw or a Stormbird is a tactical puzzle. You have to use your focus scan to identify weak points, then craft and deploy elemental arrows, tripwires, and Terrablast ammo to strip off armor plating. This game rewards preparation.
You spend hours hunting smaller creatures for bone and hide to upgrade your carry capacity. That progress loop keeps you engaged, but the main magnet is the combat. Nothing beats the rush of overriding a gigantic machine to turn it into your ally, or just watching a massive robot explode into 1,000 parts after you hit its blaze canister with a fire arrow. The world is stunning, making traversal a joy, but it's the tactical depth of fighting those machines that keeps you awake. It's a brilliant blend of action RPG and pure hunter satisfaction. 12. Far Cry 5. Rounding out this block, we head to Hope County, Montana to fight the crazy cult in Far Cry 5. This game is a masterclass in chaotic sandbox gameplay. It constantly pulls you into trouble, which is why your hours just vanish. The big change here is how you uncover the map. There are no more towers. You unlock content by talking to NPCs and exploring, very Skyrim-like. But the real game stealer is the resistance point system. You're always one firefight away from filling the meter and triggering the next insane cult kidnapping, forcing the story forward. The absolute best part is the guns for hire system. Having a team of specialists like the sniper Grace or the completely chaotic flamethrower guy Sharky makes every encounter an emergent spectacle. You get distracted by a random fishing spot, then a helicopter attacks, then your specialist blows up a silo, and suddenly you've saved a whole town. It's a world built for player-generated chaos. That loop of clearing an outpost, finding a prepper stash for cash, and then getting pulled into a ridiculous mission with Boomer the dog is pure addiction. It's loud, it's beautiful, and it will definitely steal your sleep. 13. Atomfall. Kicking off the final block is a recent release that has absolutely blindsided us with its ability to steal hours. Atomfall. Set in an alternate history 1960s Britain after the Windscale nuclear disaster, this game just oozes creepy folk horror atmosphere. The sheer density of mystery is the biggest time sink. You're exploring the fictionalized Lake District, which is now a quarantine zone, and everywhere you turn there's some dark secret or strange ritual happening. It blends classic survival action with deep, unsettling narrative elements. The resource management in this game is brutal, forcing you into every bombed-out pub and spooky farmstead to scavenge for crafting materials and radiation meds. The combat, mixing FPS with some gnarly melee, is tense and satisfying, but it's the exploration that pulls you under. I spent an entire evening just trying to figure out one side quest involving a cryptic radio broadcast and a hidden bunker. It's a game that respects your curiosity, rewarding every step with a new piece of lore or a terrifying encounter. It's that just one more clue mentality that makes your clock stop ticking. 14. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Alright, this is the one we all knew was coming. The undisputed champion of the "I'm just going to do this one quick quest" lie. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. CD Projekt Red didn't just make a huge game, they made a huge game where every single side quest feels like a main story arc. That is the technical brilliance and the ultimate trap. You accept a contract to kill a simple basilisk, and suddenly you're deep into a heartbreaking political drama that lasts 3 hours. Geralt's adventure is defined by meaningful choices. The narrative depth is incredible, where even the most minor decision can ripple across the game world. The progression loop, constantly tweaking your signs, applying oils, and upgrading your gear, is addictive. But the real killer is the immersion. I once spent 3 solid days not even looking at the main quest, just playing Gwent in taverns and exploring the stunning vistas of Skellige. It's an open-world RPG where you feel the weight of every action and the soul of every character. It's not just a time sink, it's a world you genuinely move into. 15. Resident Evil 7. Let's take a quick, terrifying detour into Resident Evil 7. Wait, an 8-hour horror game on a list of time stealers?
Yes, because of its sheer replayability and immersion. RE7 is a masterclass in first-person survival horror. The time sink here isn't just the first playthrough, which is terrifying enough. It's the need to go back for that sweet 100% completion. The constant tension and meticulous level design force you to backtrack, notice new details, and optimize your routes. You have to master the resource management. Do you use that rare magnum round on the molded down the hall, or save it for a boss? That careful, calculated decision-making is what keeps you hooked. But the real hook for me is the trophy hunting. Going for the speed runs, the no healing run, or the only use 3 items from the item box challenge. It becomes a survival puzzle game that you replay until you've optimized every single encounter. It's short, but its density makes you replay it endlessly. 16. Elden Ring. Here we go. The reigning king of the just one more attempt cycle, Elden Ring. From Software took the genius Souls-like combat system and dropped it into a colossal, seamless open world. The time sink is twofold: difficulty and discovery. The difficulty forces you into that obsessive cycle of trying a boss, failing, leveling up, trying again, failing, and then spending 2 hours grinding runes to overlevel. It's the rage quit recovery cycle perfected. But the bigger trap is the land of the lands between. This is one of the best examples of environmental storytelling ever made. The map doesn't hold your hand, you just see something interesting on the horizon, maybe a giant walking mausoleum, and you just go. I routinely spent 4 hours exploring an underground catacomb that led to a side boss I knew nothing about. The sheer build variety and constant character customization will devour your time. You can't stop playing because you're constantly either trying to beat a boss or trying to find the one item that will make your next build even more ridiculously powerful. It's an absolute behemoth.
17. Ghost of Tsushima. Let's cleanse the palate with the stunning beauty of feudal Japan, Ghost of Tsushima. Sucker Punch created an environment that is so gorgeous, just riding your horse is an activity in itself. The main time sink here is the artistic direction and immersion. The game doesn't use massive, distracting UI icons. It uses the wind mechanic to guide you. Following the wind to a yellow flower, which leads to a hot spring, which gives you a health upgrade. That's the loop. It's meditative. The combat is a beautiful parry stance system that feels incredibly cinematic. Clearing a Mongol camp feels like a scene from an Akira Kurosawa film, but the completionist in me got hooked on collecting Inari charms and finding every hidden haiku spot. I spent countless hours exploring the entire island, not because I had to, but because I wanted to see the next stunning vista. The sense of mastery and honorable exploration is what consumes your life. It's a pure, unadulterated samurai fantasy experience.
Death Stranding. And finally, we end the list with one of the most polarizing games of the last generation, and the one that will sneakily steal your life while you're focused on packages: Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima made a Strand game, which is essentially a logistics simulator mixed with beautiful, lonely sci-fi. The core time sink is the infrastructure loop. You are tasked with reconnecting America, one delivery at a time, but the real game is building roads, zip lines, and bridges. You start a mission thinking you'll just deliver a pizza, but you realize your next route would be so much easier if you just completed that next segment of the highway. So you spend 3 hours farming chiro crystals and metal. The community aspect, where other players' structures appear in your world, gives you this constant incentive to contribute. The pathfinding and traversal mechanics are so deep, calculating the right weight, the right path, and the right equipment is an addictive puzzle. You're always chasing that perfect S-rank delivery. It's a beautiful, atmospheric, and utterly unique time sink that completely redefined what we mean by open world progression.
So that's it. 18 games that literally steal your life. From Skyrim to Elden Ring, these titles demand your attention and your entire sleep schedule. Which one of these games stole the most hours from you? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next video.